Hi, welcome to Clearwaternorth. It's been a busy season for us, so we haven't been able to get as many videos as we'd like done, but we're doing one today. It's kind of my fault on this one. We have a supplier nearby us that brings up fruit from the Niagara region, which is quite a drive for us, and Shauna asked if I wanted some plums, and I love Italian plums. It brings back great memories for me of growing up in that area of this country. And so we ordered a lot of Italian plums. They're all seconds. So you'll see here, Shauna's got one that's really big and kind of odd shaped. And then there's these little teeny tiny ones. That's what makes them seconds. Makes them a lot less money when you order seconds though, because they're not the perfect fruit we get in the store. Because we have all these plums, we had to decide, what are we going to do with them? Well, we've made a decision. We're going to can them because they're really ripening fast. Too fast for us to just eat. So we're going to can them, and we're going to demonstrate how to do a raw pack method at the same time. So Shauna's already getting started. So what are you doing, Shauna?
We're just slicing and pitting them. This one, the pit was actually split, so I had to cut it out from inside of the plum. And then we're going to put it in just a simple syrup. So what we had was 10 cups of water, and then we had 1 3/4 cup of organic cane sugar. That's what we had left, so that's what we went with. We don't really like a heavy syrup. Syrup isn't actually necessary with fruit. You can pack them in water, but the color preserves much better if you have sugar, so we just like a light syrup for our canned fruit.
You can also preserve using other fruit juices sometimes, and that can be beneficial to you as well. But again, we're just using a very, very light syrup just to help preserve some of the color of the plums when we go to eat them. And these could last anywhere on the shelf between, I was reading 12 to 18 months. In our house, probably closer to the 12, because we'll get out these throughout the winter to, hey, let's eat some fruit that's we didn't have to truck from another country or fly in. And it's not that far. So we're just going to continue getting these jars ready. What we're doing is we're filling up the jars first with the plums that have been rinsed and sliced, and then we're going to pour the simple syrup on top. So we're going to get to this, and we'll see you when we get to the next step of the process. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so now we're going to put our syrup into our plums, and I'm just going to start with the ladle. And then once we get it down a little bit, we can just pour right from this pot. And we want to get, what is it? Is it a 1/2 inch head space?
Yeah, not bad.
That's a little too much.
So what we'll do after that is Shauna's going to get a spoon out, and I'll just take that. We'll just put it back into the jar next to it. I'll be standing by, and once there's a few jars full, I'm going to get a little bit of vinegar on a piece of paper towel. And I'm just going to rub my hand around the edge of the jar to make sure it's not sticky. And at the same time, I'm feeling for any kind of nicks that might be within the top of the jar. And then we'll start putting our lids on top of it. If there's something on top of your jar when you're canning, it can get in the way of the canning process. And that's okay if you're trying to fill your fridge, but the point of canning is to preserve it long term on a shelf. So it's really worth it to take that extra step and just wipe down your jars and make sure there's no nicks in them or anything that could cause them to break as well. So we almost forgot a step. Shauna was talking to me as I was starting to wipe jars down. She said to do the air bubble thing, which means I'm supposed to take something that's not metal, like this rubber spatula, and just gently push down inside and make sure that I'm getting rid of any air that might be inside the fruit. Packs it down better. And it does prevent bacteria, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, you want the right amount of liquid in the jar, and as it settles, you can have the air bubble, and then the water level goes down, and then your fruit isn't covered. So you want to have your fruit covered in your jars. Like that one there, looks like it's going to need a bit more of the liquid.
And all you're doing is just gently rubbing around the edge, just moving things around a bit. You see the bubbles, they're coming up nicely, and you realize, oh wow, there is more space in there than I thought there was. And then I will go through and wipe down these jars. We'll put our fresh canning lids on, and then we're going to process in a hot water bath for 20 minutes for these pints.
So we're putting on our lids and rings now. So these are the seals, and they just go on your wiped rim, and then you take your ring and you screw that on finger tight. So it's not really loose, but you can't over tighten them because they won't seal properly. It's not a science, you don't have to be afraid of it, you just want it firm, not too tight and not loose.
Okay, so looks like our water's just about ready. We'll get them in and we'll show you some of the finished product. Later. Well, here's our canned plums. They look pretty good. We managed one of the jars, the bottom broke. That happens sometimes just due to fatigue. We've used these jars year after year, and we lose one every once in a while. However, beside them, we have a pot where we're going to make our own homemade no pectin plum jam. And one of the keys to no pectin, sometimes what we're doing is we're going to put sugar and lemon juice over top of these fruits. We've done this with peaches quite often as well, and it's going to break down and it's going to pull some of the things that are going to be used to help thicken it up. And often with a no pectin jam, it's less sugar and it produces a product that's a little bit on the less thick side, may not be as nice for spreading, but it's fantastic for pouring over things like ice cream. So we'll take a look at that when we get that finished up tomorrow, because we still have lots of work to do with our plums. I thought I'd finish this video off outside after spending a lot of time inside preparing all these plums. Well, here's a look at one of our jars of plum jam that has turned out quite well. It's a bit tart, a bit on the savory, would be really good in a savory recipe. So putting on top of something like pork or turkey, just to give it an extra bite and bring out the flavors of things. We're still continuing on. Our plums are getting down there, but we still have more to process. Sometimes that's what you have to do when you're homesteading. You get a whole bunch of harvests come in, you got to get on it right away. No sense spoiling a harvest simply because you aren't around to get it. Thanks for joining us, and hope you have a great week and get out and try some of these things yourself. Later.